The road to WrestleMania is near its end. With only 10 days until the big night, this is RopeBreakWrestling.com's Road to WrestleMania podcast. Here's your host, AuSSy.
Ladies and gentlemen and rope breakers all across the world, what's going on? And welcome to the return episode of Rope Break Radio. This is the Road to WrestleMania podcast. This is part one of a three-part series. We're going to have two of these great audio podcasts along with one live show on Google Hangouts towards the end of the Road to WrestleMania. Right now, joining me live in the studio, the host of React After Raw, Mr. Alec Kozubski. What's going on, Alec?
Not much, man. Glad to, I guess, be back on Rope Break Radio. It's good to see it make a small comeback here.
Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it? It's just kind of there. And of course, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, most likely to quit the show before it ends. It's Matt Donato. What's going on, Matt?
Dude, I am excited to be back on Road Break Radio, Road to WrestleMania.
And that's Matt's pedophile voice. Good thing, though, that you don't have to worry about here, hopefully, is the fact that Matt should be on the entire show. There's been a lot of rumors that his internet connection has been upgraded by Time Warner because somebody within Time Warner watches the show and they're like, oh, my God, this guy can't even stay on the show for 5 minutes. His fucking internet connection's terrible. Well, we got that situated. Matt's going to be here with us for the entire show. We've got some really great topics to discuss, guys. A lot of people are bitching up a storm about this WrestleMania season, and the build has been terrible, and blah, 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 blah. You know, typical whiny, bitchy bullshit. Matt, what do you make of it?
I understand where some of the people are coming from. You said this to me yesterday. People set their expectations way too high. The way the WWE is right now, you need to understand that it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the attitude era that we're expecting or that we want. I think for what it's worth, I think it's been a decent build. I'm not going to say it's been a great build, but I mean, it's definitely been decent. I think that the majority of the card right now looks pretty solid. I'm excited for WrestleMania. And those people that aren't excited for WrestleMania, I don't care if the card sucks. It's WrestleMania. Get excited. Go jump out a window. No, don't jump out a window. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Jesus, we don't have a lawyer, Matt. Come on. I mean, in my opinion, and I know I'll probably get bashed for this, but Alec, I want to ask you your thoughts on it. I think this is one of the best, on paper at least, one of the best WrestleMania cards in recent memory. I mean, you're looking at, an appearance from Brock Lesnar. Obviously, he's facing he who shall not be named. But we've also got Sting, Triple H. Sting finally in the WWE. He's going to be wrestling. The anticipation there is ridiculous. You've got Taker coming back after a year, going up against Bray Wyatt. You've got this Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins match that is shaping up to be absolutely excellent. And, of course, the ladder match, which is, I know, intriguing most fans, and a lot of people think that's going to steal the show. Alec, I mean, what do you think? I mean, the card is pretty stacked, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, the card is stacked. I mean, if you look at the card on paper, this is a good WrestleMania card, one of the best ones they've ever had. But then, you kind of think about the build-up and the Raws we've seen and the things that WWE's done over the past few weeks. And, maybe I'll get some heat for this, but it just – sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's WrestleMania season. It's just like we're kind of going through the motions here. That's just how I feel about it. I'm excited to see what happens, but to me, it doesn't feel like WrestleMania is right around the corner.
It's kind of like that with Christmas as you get older, isn't it? If it doesn't snow, it doesn't feel like Christmas. Well,
right.
I guess they haven't done the best job that they could have as far as building some of these feuds here. One feud, though, I think without question, that has got a lot of people intrigued, probably the most intriguing 1v1 feud here, at least in my opinion, would be that of Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. And I wanted to ask you about that, Alec, because you had actually mentioned while we were chatting before that they kind of waited a little while to get this thing kick-started, even though, without a doubt, these two guys have the potential to steal the show.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is a match that, not even a match, but this is a feud that's such a long time in the making that started and then stopped so Randy could go do a movie. And then it was just Randy's going to return at this date. Then he never showed up. Then he started working house shows, and they say, oh, he's going to be on Raw. And then he would show up after Raw was over. So we keep waiting and waiting and waiting for Orton to show up. And Rollins did some great things during that time, but we wanted Orton. That's who the fans wanted. That's who we wanted. We really wanted to see this feud just go. And then Orton comes back, and he's white hot the first night he's back on Raw. And the creative geniuses backstage say, oh, you know what? Let's make him rejoin the Authority again. Instead of just automatically hyping the fans up and having Orton RKO him out of nowhere, which would have jump-started this feud like a goddamn fire. And it would be seriously something worth watching. And it still is something worth watching, I'm going to say that, but something that you really, really, really want to see what's going to happen in this feud. That's pretty much what I mean to say there.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, and I'm one that's really excited for this feud and this match at WrestleMania. I don't expect it to be a final blow off at WrestleMania. I think this is one that's going to carry over into Extreme Rules. But speaking about what you said, I agree that they could have come right out of the gate hot and used Randy Orton, right up against Seth Rollins right from the beginning, rather than this, in-between bullshit nonsense that really wasn't needed to build the story. But with that being said, Randy Orton made the best of it. He's done an excellent job of cutting some of the best promos that I can remember, him cutting in recent memory. I mean, Matt, do you think that Randy Orton is just supremely underrated?
Absolutely. Oh my God, yeah. The guy has been phenomenal since he joined the WWE. I mean, this guy is fantastic in the ring, and his mic ability is, the guy is able to create a story, and that's an ability that is really, you don't see that anymore. So I definitely think that, yeah, he is extremely underrated. He's one of my personal favorite talents. I think the guy honestly should have done a whole hell of a lot more with his career, but unfortunately, I think it was definitely a lot of wasted talent.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe it's not even that he's underrated. Maybe it's just that he's underutilized. I mean, I know he's brought a lot of, his own demons, into the ring, so to speak. He's been suspended several times. He hasn't always acted in the most professional manner. But I think Randy Orton's going to be one of those guys that when he's gone, that's when people are going to realize, oh, shit. Randy Orton was the man, and we didn't really realize what we had until it was gone. And I think the same can probably be said for John Cena. I know a lot of people, even though they despise John Cena, they respect him at the core. That's going to be the same deal. Once Cena's gone, I think a lot of people are going to realize, there's a big hole in this show here, unless we can start to get people really developed. And I mean, speaking of development and getting people developed, I guess that kind of a good segue into our next topic, which is another one that Alec, definitely wanted to cover here, and for good reason. And it's something that I didn't even really give notice to originally, but all three of the expected top matches in the card have at least one part-timer. So you're looking at Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar, of course, a part-timer. Then you got Triple H versus Sting, where both guys are part-time in the ring. Triple H, obviously, there all year long, in terms of character. And then you've got Undertaker, Wyatt. And Undertaker, he hasn't even been part-time. He's just a one-time-a-year guy, really, as far as in the ring goes. But Alec, do you think that that's going to have a negative or a positive effect on this year's card?
On the overall matches, it doesn't have an effect, but I think the build it's had an effect on. overall. I think because you've had one-sided guys going out there and trying to put these feuds together. You've had Roman Reigns try and go out there and do something, and you've had Paul Heyman out there. You have, Triple H going out there and cutting promos, and you get Sting here and there, whether it's, a video package with Dolph Ziggler, you doing Sting's voice. And then you have Bray Wyatt out there, who I really think Bray Wyatt's done the best job in really building his feud where Undertaker's not there.
Absolutely.
I think Bray Wyatt's really done the best job at selling this feud and really, making something that the fans are going to want to watch. But I just think that, WWE's really starting to suffer from just this part-time disease. Like, they need part-timers. They need this nostalgia. They need, these big names instead of, trying to build who's actually on their roster. I understand it's money. It's a big draw. But at the same time, we haven't had, a WrestleMania main event or a co-main event without a part-timer in it since WrestleMania 27. So something needs to change, whether it's next year or the year after, where we see less part-timers wrestling up-and-coming talent, and we see the talent on the roster wrestling each other.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in a resounding agreement with that. Even WrestleMania 27, although it was Miz Cena, you still had that, The Rock angle in there. So it could be argued that even further back than that. And honestly, Matt, I mean, we all come from the Attitude Era here, and I know obviously you were a big fan back then too. Isn't this kind of the same thing that led to the death of WCW? I mean, you looked at guys that were only in the ring, in most cases part-time, and I think the promotion relied too heavily on past names rather than building future talents. I mean, WWE has NXT. They've brought up all these great guys, all these great talents. You've got next generation type talent. How come we're not seeing anybody absolutely flourish at that WrestleMania stage?
Well, it's got a lot to do, like you just said, that they rely too heavily on these part-timers. They're not utilizing them properly. Instead of bringing them in and using them to put over these talents, I mean, they have in certain circumstances with The Rock, helping put over John Cena. But that can be argued, does that really even count since Cena is already over?
Exactly.
I mean, to me personally, I know that was their idea of passing the torch, but the torch was already passed years ago. So to me, that was just a money draw. It had nothing to do with passing the torch. I didn't buy into that concept. But I think as far as, a lot of the, if they really cared about putting over these young guys, then Brock versus Rock would have never even come up. That was a huge thing. I want to do Rock versus Brock. Well, how's that helping anybody? It's just making you money. That's not helping the product. You want to help the product, you need to stop relying on these, because they're not going to be around forever. You can't rely on these guys to be coming in and saving your pay-per-views and saving your shows, or the only reason that this pay-per-view is good is because you had Sting show up. That's not going to fly down the road when these guys are either dead or can't walk or bitter with the WWE for some reason.
Which could be next year for Sting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they need to. I mean, right now in NXT, they're doing a great job. You're right with WCW, though. I mean, that was the huge reason. I mean, they really put so much stock in these older talents that, I mean, they're only going to get you just, so far. They're not going to be able to carry the company into the future. They can't. It's not that they won't. They just can't do it. So you need to put more stock in these younger guys and really evaluate who you have and who can really. Seth Rollins, I think if they book Dean Ambrose properly, hands down, can take it into the future. I mean, look at the roster in NXT. Any number of those guys can help bring this in the future. Put your stock in them. If you need to use part-timers, and utilize them properly, and have them help to put over these young talents.
I think you really hit the nail right on the head when you said one particular line, which was because it makes them money. I think that when they bring in a guy like The Rock, or they keep bringing in, I mean, Brock Lesnar is one thing. He's been integrated into storylines for the past couple of years, but I feel like they have the need, or they feel the need that, oh, Undertaker's got to be on this show, or we need to have The Rock here, or we need to get Austin and Hogan and Rock in the ring, or whatever. Yeah, those moments kick ass. But at the same time, you're 100% right. I think it's more of a money thing. And at the end of the day, refusal to build these new stars is going to cost them money down the road. And
Absolutely.
Alec, I mean, you're pretty much in the same boat there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're if you're not building the talent you have, it's going to cost you money. It's like, all right, let's say you have an NBA team and you have, star players on the team, but then you have a lot of good players on your bench, and those star players are in their, mid to late 30s, but you're still putting them out there on the floor. So now what happens is fans aren't coming to the game, so you're losing money. They're not buying jerseys. They're not buying, whatever it is that, is out there. You're losing money. So you need to get those guys out and put the new talent in. And, that kind of, like it led to the demise of WCW, where it just kept relying on older talent, WWE's washed up talent, to try and help push that product. And now WWE is heading down that same road where the product, people don't want to watch it. They don't want to tune in. It doesn't make sense. They're not building good storylines. I will say, if the Rope Breakers have time, go up on YouTube, check out The Death of WWE. It's a mock documentary trailer. It's really great. There's basically footage from the Monday Night Wars documentary on the network, and they've used it and put it towards WWE. And when you see it, you're like, wow, this WWE is in dire straits.
Exactly. And that really was an excellent piece there. And you said about storylines and not building the next characters up, or I mean, we've been talking about not building the next guys up, and really, you want to talk about dire straits. Let's talk about this tag team division, and I think that's the perfect term to describe it right now, because we're about to see, arguably, and I know we've seen some absolutely atrocious ones in recent memory, we're about to see one of the worst tag team matches in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. And that's really, really too bad, to be honest with you, because you've got Kid and Cesaro, who are absolutely excellent in the ring, and honestly, they're gelling as a tag team. I don't know if I agree with them being tag champions right now, but with the state of that division, I guess they kind of have to be, especially now that we've got the Usos hurt. I think it's Jey Uso that's hurt and might not be able to, compete in WrestleMania. So that takes out basically the number one tag team that they've invested the most in, the Usos, over the past 2 years. That takes them out of the mix, and now we're left with the potential of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but these are the teams I'm looking at. I'm looking at Kid and Cesaro, Los Matadores, and The New Day. Forget about the Ascension, who we put a lot of stock in, gave some good vignettes, put some valuable time in, and then just completely forgot about. Why? Because they didn't need to be repackaged as the Road Warriors Part 2 in the first place. But, that being said, Matt, what the fuck is going on with this tag team division? Is this match destined for the pre-show?
Oh, it absolutely should be. I mean, the problem is they haven't paid any attention to the tag team division. I know there's a lot of stuff going around Triple H and a lot of people in the back. They want to make the U.S. championships more vibrant, the Intercontinental Championship more vibrant, but there's no talk about the tag team. I think maybe like 5 or 6 months ago they were, putting a lot of stock into it, and then it's almost like they've given up. I mean, there isn't any tag teams on the roster, and I say tag teams as I'm talking a traditional tag team. I mean, the only tag team that is a real tag team right now are the Usos and Los Matadores. And I personally think that Los Matadores should never have happened. I think they should have. I think the problem is, especially with these tag teams, is instead of saying we're not booking them properly, they're just saying it's not working. And then they try to repackage them into something even worse, where I think Primo and Epico would have worked if they were booked properly. I think this gimmick is just very early 90s and doesn't work for the entire crowd, and that's a huge issue. And the fact that, exactly, and the fact that these guys haven't been on TV for months, and now they're all of a sudden being when's the last time we saw these guys actually do anything? Now all of a sudden they're back in the past few months, and it's like, oh, they're going to be in WrestleMania.
Yeah, they're suddenly in the run for a title.
Right, exactly. And it's because they don't have any other teams. They're like, shit, we want to do. They honestly should have just kept this a regular tag team match. They shouldn't have tried to make it this big old spectacle because there's no room to do it. They don't have the talent to do that with. They're grasping at straws right now, and they're like, we want to do this big event. We don't have the talent, but we're going to do it anyway. And it's, in my opinion, destined to fail. Los Matadores doesn't interest me. I don't care about them. Like you said, the Usos, Jey Uso is injured. Whether or not he'll make it to Mania right now is unknown, obviously. But just hypothetically, he doesn't make it. Now we're left with Los Matadores, the New Day, which, God help me, why is that even still a thing right now? That should have been repackaged. They should have sat back and said, okay, we need to keep him off TV for a few minutes, figure this shit out, because freaking Big E having a seizure on Raw.
That was hilarious.
It's like, what are these guys doing? It's like there's no cohesiveness in this team. Like, all three guys have a different, really racist gimmick. Like, it's like, let's find the blackest gimmick we can find and throw it on these guys to make them really, really gel with the crowd. And it's like nobody wants them. They're not interested.
It's really sad when you think back when they first kind of grouped together and they came out in the dress clothes and Xavier Woods was cutting those great promos. Like, these guys were something serious, and you're like, wow, this is exciting. And then, we get these blue fucking bastards running around dancing and doing God knows what. I don't know. I don't see the appeal, and you get like two people in the audience who actually like the team. I don't get it. Why keep them around? Just get rid of it. It doesn't make sense to just keep them. It's stupid.
It's a whole ton of howdy ho bullshit. It's because, like Matt said, Matt said it, and I don't say this often, but Matt said it perfectly, It's really racist. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I don't want to be that guy that's going, oh, that's racist, oh, blah blah blah. But Jesus Christ, why can no solid African American wrestler just go out and do his thing and get over? Anytime there's a good talent, they're immediately held down by some bullshit gimmick. Big E was ascending. He was even friends with John Cena. That's an in that he had there. He was the Intercontinental Championship. It meant nothing. They did nothing with him. They booked him weekly, and there he goes. Another guy that you guys and myself have talked about many, many times, and I will keep saying this name because I think he's been fucked over royally, is Titus O'Neil.
Yep.
Tell me that guy doesn't have the look of a world heavyweight champion.
No, he definitely does.
He's got the one.
And he's proven he's got the charisma, but they do nothing with him. Like you said with Big E, he's booked poorly. I mean, he was in. Okay, when a guy's in the Slater Gator, he's not ever going to go anywhere.
Well, not only that, but going back to the stereotypical gimmicks, it's like now, maybe because the Usos are out, maybe we get the revamped primetime players will be in this match. Those guys that only care about the money, those athletes that care about the money, because that's the only thing that we really know about African American wrestlers is it's all about that money, yeah, or that money, yeah, or millions of dollars. Just something with money, say it twice, and they'll be good to go.
Yep, absolutely. That was a good point too, bringing up Crime Time. Wow, what a gimmick that was.
And you know what? And I know a lot of people were clamoring and, you know, saying, "Oh, Nation of Domination Part 2." Even that was fucking racist, man. That's like a glorified Black Panther gimmick.
Right.
You know, why can't these guys just come out and be badasses, like Alex said, when they were coming out in suits and shit? Like, you know, why can't they have an Evolution style gimmick, or just like a, you know, come out and mean business? I don't understand it. But, you know, that's not the only tag match on the card that's really got us scratching our heads, right? I mean, we're looking at now, talk about another division that can't get over, can't get proper time, can't get proper booking on the card. That's the Divas division. I mean, you want to talk about making a title unimportant. Let's not even defend it at WrestleMania. Let's just like completely act like it doesn't exist. And Alec, we've got, you know, obviously everybody's excited to see AJ and Paige tag team together, but doesn't that have more of like a pay-per-view before WrestleMania feel to it? Like almost when Rock and Cena tagged at that one pay-per-view. I can't remember what the hell it was, but they tagged at that pay-per-view before they had their match, or like Cena and Shawn Michaels tag. It should have been, fuck the Bellas. I love the Bellas, but, you know, they shouldn't be in the WrestleMania main event right now, in my opinion. It should have been Paige versus AJ in the main event, and you could have had this, you know, frenemy bullshit. You know, they could have rekindled that and then had them tag together prior to WrestleMania. Instead, we're getting it now. You know, what do you make of it?
I'm not happy about it. It's like, so on the card you have the World Championship, the IC Championship, the US Championship, the Tag Championships, all being defended, and then you put your Divas Champion in a tag team match. You have a 4-hour fucking show. Don't tell me you don't have 10-15 minutes to put a Divas Championship match in there, because I guarantee you there's going to be another bullshit Divas Battle Royal, which is fucking useless. I don't know why they do it. I don't see the point of it. Like, what does it accomplish? It accomplishes nothing. So you're going to put the Divas title in a tag team match instead of actually making it, you know, something, you know, worth watching. Give Divas a chance. Oh, well, fuck that. We're going to put it in a tag team match and it won't be defended. But they'll probably defend it the next night on Raw, which is okay because it's going to be a nice crowd, but it still should be defended at WrestleMania. I mean, who made this decision to say, well, it'd be better off if Nikki and Brie were tagging against Paige and AJ? Yeah, great. It looks good on paper. But either way, I would have much rather seen Paige and AJ go at it for the title. Or better yet, it would have been great to have that sister versus sister match at WrestleMania. That would have been great as well. But instead, we get a tag team match.
Not only do we get a tag team match, but we're supposed to just forget that sister v sister thing ever happened, right?
Right. We're just supposed to forget, like, oh yeah, the 30 days wasn't even up, and they suddenly made up, and they're all friendly again, and blah blah blah. Like, why do they think we're stupid? I don't get it. Why do they think, like, we'll just erase history? Like, it doesn't work that way.
And what's really frustrating and confusing about that is that they brought Stephanie McMahon out of retirement to wrestle, to build that feud, and then 2 months later it's in the garbage can. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Just like the way they threw out the Stardust versus Goldust potential feud. They just threw that out. Oh, that wasn't working. We're just going to pretend like it never even happened. And now you go and you throw Stardust into this Intercontinental Championship match. Matt, you and I talked about it last night. I get the sense that it's like somebody backstage feels sympathetic for the roster and is in an effort to get every single fucking person on their roster in the WrestleMania card. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be that way. We don't need, you know, and I know he's done a good job lately, but we don't need to see R-Truth in that fucking Intercontinental ladder match. I'm sorry. We don't.
It makes no sense.
Exactly. He's been off TV, just like you said about Los Matadores. Been off TV for fucking 6 months. And then all of a sudden he comes back, beats Bad News Barrett one time, and all of a sudden he's a number one contender for the fucking title. Doesn't make sense. Los Matadores off TV for all this time. All of a sudden they come back, number one contender. It's a clusterfuck. It doesn't make any sense. Just like the Divas tag match doesn't make any fucking sense. They're just throwing shit together in an effort to get as many people on the card as they can. Don't you think, Matt?
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, none of it clusterfuck. Perfect word. Like you said, R-Truth makes zero sense in this match. And it's not even like he was one of the guys who were built into this match later on. He was like one of the first guys. It was like Bad News Barrett and Ambrose and Ziggler and R-Truth. It's like, what? R-Truth. I'm like, when that... yeah, he beat Bad News Barrett on main event.
Which isn't aired on the WWE network anymore, by the way. So now that we fucking know about it,
yeah,
maybe beat him on SmackDown. I don't know. I don't watch.
I'm like, SmackDown. I'm like, people still watch main event. I'm like,
they can't.
You can literally throw this out, and nobody would even know that R-Truth ever beat Bad News Barrett because nobody watches that show. So I mean, to me, it makes no sense because there are plenty of guys backstage who are perfect. They could have thrown they have Daniel Bryan in there. All of these guys would have fit perfectly. Why are they throwing R-Truth? And the only thing I can come up with, and you just said it, is that they're just trying to get everybody into WrestleMania. And I don't understand it. It's like, we want everybody on the roster in Mania. I swear to God, they're going to throw like an El Torito Hornswoggle match in there somewhere.
God, no,
just to fucking get them in there.
There's going to be an interspecies tag match on SmackDown this week.
Just
fucking Lord.
Oh my God.
Let's put that out there.
I blame Michael P.S. Hayes. He probably had nothing to do with it, but I just love blaming that guy for everything.
If anything, his terrible hairdo had to have something to do with it.
His skullet. It's not a mullet anymore. It's a skullet.
It's not even business in the front. It's just fucking bald in the front.
Freaking Goldberg in the front, Michael P. Hayes in the back. That's why he wears hats all the time.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's awful.
It looks like he just took Goldust's old wig and cut the top part off.
He looks like a mix between The Godfather and Goldust. Like that 70s pimp.
Oh my God. Oh man, I've seen Kayfabe News say on Twitter before too. Don't forget, this man was a sex symbol in the 70s.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's terrible. Either way, we got to move on before we lose viewers here starting to talk about Michael P.S. Hayes' fashion sense. Man, just tons of good shit to talk about. And we're kind of winding down, nearing the end of the show here, but one thing that we definitely need to talk about is, news that broke earlier this week. And I think this is a fitting way to kind of close out the show here. Alec here broke the news on RopeBreakWrestling.com, courtesy of Mets Fan Forever on Reddit. Big time news, and I'm going to say it now. It's still being regarded a spoiler, so if you're not interested in having anything spoiled for you, you might want to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, maybe throw a comment down, and exit stage left right now, because we are, again, about to talk a little bit about a spoiler, and that is apparently Brock Lesnar may be close to re-signing with WWE, and apparently Triple H is pushing to keep the title on him, and in addition to that, maybe put the U.S. title on John Cena and the IC title on Daniel Bryan. And really, you want to talk about bringing those two titles back to life, that about does it right there. Alec, you broke the story here. Do you think there's any legitimacy to the story? And if so, you digging it or no?
As far as legitimacy go, forget it, I can't say it. As far as the truth to the story goes, at this point it's a rumor, but it's still a spoiler because we don't know if it's going to happen or not. So for those of you who kind of mentioned on the Facebook that it should be labeled as a rumor, it still could possibly be a huge WrestleMania spoiler. We don't want to spoil it for those of you who want to keep WrestleMania a surprise, but I like the direction that this is going in, where we take these two lower titles that have just been dragged through the mud for so long, and it's like, all right, Triple H says, you know what, we're going to put one on John Cena, one on Daniel Bryan, and it's going to bring these titles back into the spotlight. And then, while Brock is gone, these guys can fight for these titles on Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, house shows. And then when it's time for Brock to come back for, say, SummerSlam, you could possibly have 3 huge championship matches on the card, if Brock is still champion. So I think it's a good way to go. It hurts Roman Reigns a little bit because he's not getting that title push, but he doesn't. He's not ready for it right now, but I think this is the right direction that WWE needs to go in for the time being.
I'm in agreement with you, and I know I wrote the article saying that Rusev needs a win against John Cena, and I still believe that. I think
Right.
Rusev does need that win. At the same time, I think the U.S. title itself could benefit greatly from being in the hands of John Cena. With that being said, Matt, I mean, what are your thoughts on the whole deal? Do you think that Brock Lesnar keeping the strap is a good move, or do you think fans are fed up with having Lesnar as champion just because he's not one that defends enough? Do you see maybe Seth Rollins comes in and cashes in? I know we've been talking about that for a while. Or do you think they're going to stick with Lesnar walking out as champion? And does that make sense?
I gotta say that I think that it is a good idea, and I think that fans will be pissed off, and I think that is why it's a good idea. It makes him a legitimate heel with these smarks, as they like to call themselves. I know about the business because I read stuff on the internet. And they get pissed off. He's a part-timer. He can't hold the title. I think it's been a solid title reign. I've loved every second of it. I think it actually makes the title really legitimate. Just because Lesnar has it doesn't matter. He could doesn't matter where he goes. He could go to TNA with that title and still would look legitimate. He could hold the Divas title and make it look badass. But I think that him retaining the title is a good idea for multiple reasons. I think that Reigns, I think like Alec was saying, it may not be good for Reigns to not win going into this, but I think it would be even worse if he did because of the fact that he's not ready. When you hold a championship like the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, it has a tendency to expose holes. And right now, because Reigns is so green, he has a lot of those holes. So it's going to really highlight all of his weak points when he has that title because the spotlight is right on him. And I think that could be very detrimental. So I would think, being on, speaking for Reigns, I think it'd be better for him if Lesnar walked out with the title, and then they gave Reigns more time to build himself up, get more comfortable in his role, because that's the whole thing right now. It's comfort for him. I don't think he's comfortable yet. Once he gets more comfortable, by all means, if he can prove himself, and I think that he's been doing a better job. I think this, on Raw, he did a decent job. So he is showing improvement. I think there's a lot of pressure on him right now. Them telling him he's going to be the champion. He's really probably nervous about it, doesn't know what to do. So I think once that pressure is taken off of him, Lesnar walks out with the title, he can take a breath, step back, and really start developing that character. So I think this could be very, very good for Reigns, very good for Brock. I said it before we started the podcast. I think that after this promo that they showed of Lesnar, I think it makes more sense to have Lesnar win. I remember watching that and thinking, I don't believe Lesnar winning anymore, or Reigns winning anymore. I was kind of like, okay, I can see Reigns winning. It makes sense. But after that promo, I wouldn't believe it, just because of how real it felt, and just knowing how vicious Brock Lesnar is. So I think that could be a definite. I think it's a definitely good idea. Do I think Rollins cashes in? I don't think it'll happen at Mania. I think that's too predictable. Then again, knowing the WWE, they can be very predictable. I think if they'll have Lesnar win, I think they may try to have Rollins cash in, but I think that if they have him cash in, it will be on Raw. I think that would be a decent idea. I think even if Lesnar doesn't re-sign with the WWE, that should be the road that they go. Lesnar retains, and then Rollins cashes in. And then, it's kind of like he didn't beat Lesnar. He stole the championship from Lesnar, and they could go off of that. I think there's a lot of good possibilities with that. And it just boils down to Reigns not being ready. Nothing against the guy. He's definitely showing improvement, but let the guy breathe. Let him, because I think this could really ruin his career. I mean, look at a lot of the guys that they've given the championship to right off the bat. A guy like Sheamus, who I know all three of us aren't really big fans of, but I do think the guy had potential coming in, and I think they could have done more with him. I think throwing the strap on him right off the bat really, really damaged him. Same thing with Del Rio. I'm not a really big Del Rio fan, but I think that guy had potential too.
It's El Patron, man.
El Patron. I think that he had a lot of potential coming in. There was so many gimmicks, they could have started with that aristocrat gimmick similar to a JBL $1 Million Man type gimmick that I think, where he would pay off people to come in and win his matches. There was a lot of ways he could have gone, but I think giving him that title and putting the spotlight on him right away and giving him all that pressure, like right when he debuts, was very damaging. So that's the same thing I see happening with Reigns if they go down that route. I think this would be the smart move. But knowing WWE and Vince always has his way, and I think Vince is really dead set on Reigns winning. I don't see this happening.
It'll be interesting. At least it makes it,
less predictable.
Yeah, it makes it less predictable in a way. And I've seen people on Facebook and Twitter and everything saying this kind of seems like a purposeful leak by WWE to get people into watching, and maybe tricking them into thinking that Lesnar might win. I don't think WWE's that smart. I'll be honest with you. I think we give them too much credit sometimes for shit like that we come up with ourselves. And we've been known to do that shit here at Rope Break Wrestling because we're intellectual juggernauts, if you will. But that being said, I gotta say, guys, this was a pretty solid kickoff to the Road to WrestleMania podcast series. And like I said, this is going to be a 3-part series. This was part 1. We thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us the entire show. And we'll be back next Friday, right? We doing this Friday, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Friday, right? Yeah, this is Friday. Okay. We'll be doing this Friday. So next Friday we'll have another episode. It's going to be part 2 of the series. And then the following Friday, the 27th, which ends up being the Friday before WrestleMania, we'll be coming in with a live Google Hangout group chat. And I believe, and I can't confirm this, might be a spoiler for that show, we may be inviting you guys, the fans, onto that show to ask us questions in person and have them answered, and maybe, hang out and discuss WrestleMania 31. By then, we will have seen the go-home episode of Raw, and shit will be getting really intense in terms of WrestleMania. So, any last words, fellas?
Yeah, was that a purposeful spoiler?
Oh, yeah. I had to spoil that so that get fans interested. Yeah, that was a purposeful leak, yes.
Any final words?
Yeah, any final words?
Of course I have final words.
Well, what are they?
Podcast.
It doesn't matter what they are. Okay, go ahead.
Comedic genius, this guy. My final words are to the rope breakers who said that we should have posted that as a rumor, not a spoiler. I think you're smart enough to put 2 and 2 together and realize that it might also be a potential spoiler and not a rumor. We don't have to spell that out for you. I think you guys are intelligent enough to do that yourselves.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. Every single time you post a rumor or a spoiler or anything, there's got to be that one guy that's like,
Jesus, I wish you could have put spoiler on that. I didn't want to read that, but you just ruined WrestleMania for me. Thanks a lot, guys. Fuck this. Hashtag unlike rope break.
Or you have the other end of the coin where you got the guy like, why are you even writing spoilers? I don't understand it. What's the point of a spoiler? It ruins wrestling. Well, that's why
spoilers are the reason why wrestling is so shitty these days. When I was a kid, like, Jesus Christ, are you really going to get all fucking Granny Weather on me? You know, Sonny, when I was a kid, we had no idea Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to bleed out on the mat right there in front of Bret Hart. That shit just kind of happened, didn't it? Well,
Shepherd's Farm, remember?
Holy sheep shit on a shingle. If you don't want to know the spoilers, then don't listen. But for those that do, this is the show for you. And yes, I just rhymed twice. Why? Because I spit hot fire. Alec, you got anything else to say?
I just want to thank the Rope Breakers for tuning in to the comeback of Rope Break Radio. Definitely make sure to tune in next Friday for part 2. And then I think Saturday, the 28th, is our live roundtable.
Yes, we're doing the additional live roundtable. We're going to be talking all sorts of shit and giving our WrestleMania predictions. That's where you really want to be, because for those of you guys that haven't or are new to Rope Break, or you weren't around with us last year, go back on our YouTube channel. I've said this like 100 times. I'm going to do this probably after we're done with this show. Go back on our YouTube page. Take a look at our WrestleMania predictions from last year and laugh at all of us for predicting the Brock Lesnar Undertaker match. I really made a fool of myself on that one, I have to say.
Yeah, you shot yourself in the foot a couple of times.
I think I was also like, Brock Lesnar's gonna beat the Undertaker. Okay, I'm just kidding. That would be stupid.
Yeah, you did say something to that effect. That shit is funny, I gotta say. But that's the type of stuff that you get here. Rope Break Radio, our WrestleMania predictions are coming up at the WrestleMania Roundtable show. And during that show, we're also going to be talking all sorts of other WrestleMania-related topics. It's going to be something that you definitely don't want to miss. Another thing you don't want to miss is this upcoming Monday night, Rope Break React After Raw returns for its go-home episode.
We hope
Google
Hangouts lets us on the air.
One way or another, that show will be returning on Monday night. And, of course, your host with the most, Alec, will be there. Hopefully, Matt will be there if his internet holds up. And I will be there as well, as is customary for the go-home episode.
I will be there.
Tons of shit going on. We've got React After Raw coming up on Monday. We've got another episode of The Sharpshoot coming up on Thursday night. If you didn't catch this week's episode of The Sharpshoot, that aired yesterday. Go ahead and do that on YouTube. And then we've got, again, Rope Break Radio for the next 2 weeks, as well as – is it really the next 2 weeks? No. Yeah, so it's just this Friday, which is today, next Friday, and then the roundtable is technically part 3.
Yep.
So that's the way we're going with it there. If you guys want to submit topics for us to talk about on these shows, please do so. You can do so by going to our ask.fm page, which is at ask.fm/ropebreakwrestling. Suggest a topic, ask a question. We'll answer it on one of our many shows. But we've got a star-studded schedule coming on. So to make sure you don't miss anything, don't forget to click subscribe right here, like this video, share it with your friends, comment, and of course, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Rope Break Wrestling and like us on Facebook, Rope Break Wrestling. Don't forget to check out the website, ropebreakwrestling.com. For Matt Donato, Alec Kozubski, and myself, a.k.a. AuSSy, this has been Rope Break Radio, the Road to WrestleMania podcast, part 1. Tune in again next week, same time, same place, for part 2.
I'm getting busier. I'm double platinum. I'm watching you get dizzier. Check out the way I say my